Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today is finally the day that I'm going to be making a Appa Plushie. You know, this guy from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Okay, let's get started. First thing first, I drew a sketch of how I wanted it to look. Next, I got the fabric that I wanted to use, and I drew the main body shape. Then after that, I put pins all around so it won't move. And after that, I got my big sewing needle, and I got started. And after I sewed it all, I cut it out, and I flipped it inside out. And over here, I wanted the arms to be like cone shapes. So I cut out some squares out of the same fabric that I used for the main body. And I started to sew all the sides so it could be extra strong. And after I sewed all of the sides, I flipped it inside out. And I added some fluff inside to make it a bit more fluffy. Then after that, I repeated the process 5 other times so I could have 6 legs. Next, I cut out a oval shape out of black fleece so I could make the nose and the horns. This project honestly took a lot longer than I expected it to take. I expected it to take about 2 weeks, but instead I finished it in 5 weeks. Then I got everything ready so I could assemble everything. I kind of forgot to record some things, so I did some things behind camera, like the hair and the mouth. So what I'm doing over here is I'm basically assembling everything before I sew it on so I can make sure that I like the way that it looks. At this point, it looks like I ran it over with a car, and I started to get lazy about it, and I started to give up, but I already bought the fabric, so might as well just try. So I just kept on going with the project, and I got the weird mustache mouth thing that Appa has, and I sewed it on. It was a bit harder to sew it on because it was 3D, but I eventually got it and I started to sew on the nose. Then after that, I stuffed it up with stuffing to make sure that I put the eyes in the right place, and I got a knife and poked 2 holes. It was a bit brutal. I think I killed him.
So what are you gonna say at my funeral now that you've killed me?
So after I basically murdered the stuffed animal, I put in the eyes. And now seeing the eyes when I stuffed the stuffed animal, it doesn't look like a flat pancake anymore. I'm improving. It actually looks better. And after I put in the eyes, I got the safety eye holder, whatever it is, and put it from the inside so the eyes don't fall out. And so far it's looking pretty good. So I just got some brown fleece and sewed it on Appa's belly. Then I stuffed it again and I sewed the opening so the fluff doesn't come out. If you haven't noticed yet, I was being a bit messy with my stitching because I was gonna cover it with the excess brown fleece anyways. And now I am doing Appa's beaver-like tail. So I got the white fluffy fabric and the brown fleece, and I flipped them both inside out, and I started to sew on the lines. If you're wondering what Appa is, he is a flying bison, and of course it's not a real animal, it's just part of the cartoon. The creators wanted to be a bit more creative, so they decided to make a beaver-like bison that flies. Is it weird? Yes, it is very weird, but it's still really cool. Over here, I cut out the patterns that Appa has, and I sewed them onto the tails and the back. Appa also has a arrow that goes from his head along to his back to the tail, but I didn't want to make the video too long, so I decided to leave this one out. And over here, the time has come. I am finally sewing the tail to the body. So after I sewed on the tail, I flipped it, and here are the patterns. They're not even, but you know, I kind of like them this way. They look pretty cool.
He's lying.
Yeah, so after that, I got some black ink and a paintbrush, and I started to paint on some lines on Appa's belly. Something that really worked in my favor was that the ink dried really nicely. So instead of it drying all crusty and making like a weird crust around the fabric, it dried smoothly and you couldn't really feel any difference between the normal fabric and the fabric that has the ink on it. After I finished, I looked back on it and it needed more lines, so I decided to paint some more lines on the tail. Now I'm going to sew on all the limbs, and yes, I'm basically making Frankenstein.
It's alive.
So I just continued sewing the arm on, and Appa has 3 arms on each side, so I decided to do it behind camera. And he's looking pretty good so far. Okay, now it's time to make Appa's little ears. So first I cut out 2 circles for the ears, and after that I got the dark brown cloth and the fluffy white cloth, and I started to sew them together. And over here I flipped it inside out so those stitchings won't show. Then I folded it so it could have an ear shape. If you guys are wondering where I got the idea of making this plushie in this style, I got it from Legends of Korra. They win this big fluffy Appa plushie at a carnival, and ever since I saw that episode, I told myself that I wouldn't continue watching the show until I make one of my own. Then I got the black horns and placed them right on top of the ears and started to sew them on. If you guys would like a tutorial of how to make a smaller and easier version of this stuffed animal, make sure to comment down below. Over here I sewed on the second horn, and now I am finally done. This project might have taken me a long time, but the end results really made it worth it. It's fluffy and it's a really nice size and it's absolutely adorable. Anyways guys, that's all for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please press the like and subscribe button to watch more art.